Mike here from Northwest School of Fly Fishing. Welcome back to our channel, and hopefully this video you'll enjoy. Please subscribe if you can. It will help me make more videos like this. And on this particular video that you're going to be watching, I'm going to be underwater on a lot of this stuff. And I'm going to give you a view of what the trout see underwater, and I'm going to give you a view of what you see on top of the water, and how we can use this information to make you a better dry fly fisherman. So sit back and enjoy the video. Let me know how you like it. As fly fishermen, we see things a lot different than trout see things. They can't see what we see. They can't even see outside the water. Life for a trout is really compressed between the meniscus or the mirror and the bottom of the river. It's this world that they live in. You can't see outside. If you look beyond, it's nothing but a mirror to them. It's not to when they begin to look at vertically or up where we can actually see their window of vision. This is where they can now see, but that's a very small indication. You can see my hand here. If I was to move my hand over a little bit, you wouldn't be able to see it because of the mirror. When we factor that into moving water, or quick, fast-moving water, trout will operate differently there. Everything is broken. The mirror's broken, their window's broken, everything's moving fast, and they have to become a little more opportunistic, especially when there's more than one trout down there and they're actually feeding on hatch. They have to be very quick. We need to understand that compression between the meniscus and the bottom of the river and how trout live and think and operate if we're going to be great fly fishing. In terms of dry fly fishing, as we progress in our dry fly fishing lives, the more that we can understand how trout live, think, breathe, see underwater, how that applies to our hatches or how they feed, it's going to make you a better dry fly fisherman. In essence, you have to stop and start thinking a little bit like a trout in order to progress to a dry fly fisherman. Good video, and it's a really neat section because what you think you see is not all what you really see. And in the video you just watched, most of us would have thought there's a hatch going on. Well, certainly a lot of us would have looked at that and seen a hatch going on. The reality is that really wasn't a hatch. That's what some folks call a spinner fall, and others would call an egg-laying. So what you saw, those bugs flying around, those were trico mayflies, along with PMD mayflies. So what a hatch, how would you know if that was a hatch and not a spinner fall? If that was a hatch, you'd actually see fish at the surface rising, and you would actually see the mayflies duns on the water. But what you saw in that opening section there, those were spinners, and they were mating and laying. So in essence, it helps to understand what you're seeing, because our initial thought is that's a hatch, and we're going to go out there and try to hatch it, and then throw flies and line lay out in the water, and we're not going to catch it, and so on and so forth. So as we move into what we saw underwater, this is what a trout really sees, and we don't see that. A trout is trapped between the bottom of the river and the surface. A trout can't see outside the surface. It's a mirror of the bottom. So they're in a different world than what we understand and see. They don't know what's happening outside. They don't even know where you are. They don't even know there's a world that exists outside of the river. What they know is that blue window. And that's where you should concentrate in your dry fly fishing, is you need to understand that trout that will actually eat a natural mayfly, that trout has to be triggered to eat that natural. It also has to be triggered to take your dry fly. And that's called a trigger mechanism, and there's three important parts to a trigger mechanism. One, in order for a trout to take your fly, it has to be triggered. Number one is it has to make your fly or your emerger has to make an impression on the mirror or on the meniscus that you saw underwater. It has to make that impression in or on the meniscus so that it is now triggered. So as that fly is floating by, he sees it out there, it's making an impression in the mirror. It sees it, it's triggered. Now it's focused on that coming towards him. And as it comes towards him, he's going to actually move up and then it enters this window, that little blue area you saw my hand. Now it can see the fly full on, and at that point, size is the second trigger, and color is the third trigger. If size and color are correct, you now have a take. If that take is within that waggle. If it's outside that waggle, you will not get it. Understanding these core principles in fly fishing, as it directly relates to dry fly fishing, is very, very important. So if you've learned anything, and you're going to see this all over YouTube and all the experts, they say that you should deliver your fly at least 18 inches in front of the trout. Well, you're landing it right on the window. And in reality is you want to cast it farther away from the rising trout. Then you want to move your fly into the mirror and have it drift into the fly so it's triggered at a distance. And then when it hits that blue window, boom, you have it. So there's a lot more going on underwater than what I'm explaining to you right now. We'll save that for later videos. But if you guys are out there dry fly fishing, and you can only hope, I've been doing this for 7 decades, and my only hope is that someday I'll be good at it. It's hard to master dry fly fishing because there's a lot of science and a lot of other things going on. Where we easily can master nymph fishing, that's on the bottom, and that's a whole different feeding behavior. So I'd like you to just kind of take a grasp of this, think about it a little bit, see how it can apply to what flies you have, see how it's going to make you a better fisherman, and take the time to step back and really watch the water when you see things happening on that water. Normally you would walk by that section of river, and I would too. But there was something that got our attention, and now they're these spinners. And what do all spinners do? Is they die and the fish eat them. So if you enjoy this video, please subscribe, share it, pass it on, let other people know about it, and I'll keep making more just like this.